Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Email me directly for pricing, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing a watch that was originally launched back in 2004. This is the Roger Dubuis Much More Quantième Perpetuel. It is a perpetual calendar version of the Much More form watch. In rose gold, this watch measures a beefy 57.3 millimeters from lug to lug. It's only 11.2 millimeters thick, and from side to side, the case is 34.1 millimeters. Now, the timepiece reflects a transitional period at Dubuis. The original Sogem company, as it was known in 1995, was established by watchmaker Roger Dubuis and his business partner Carlos Diaz. Now, over time, Diaz would become a more influential figure in the design and production of Roger Dubuis watches, eventually leading to watches like the Seymour, the Much More, the Sports activity watches, and of course the Just for Friends series. They were polarizing, bold, some might even say audacious watches that were love-hate pieces. Well, this watch wasn't quite at that point. We still have some of the original Roger Dubuis influence alongside the extravagance of Diaz. So the timepiece on my wrist of 16 centimeters circumference is large, to the point that I would recommend you have a wrist of at least 17 centimeters circumference to wear this. It's not thick, far from it. At under 12 millimeters, it'll slide underneath the cuff, but you can see how broad it is, and it's no exaggeration to say that these little lugs, spare though they are still overlapping the edge of my wrist. The strap is substantial, large rectangular scale alligator leather. You can see it is black, glossy. There's a monotone stitch, a sheer cut side showing the layers of leather. We have calfskin on the bottom. This is a brand new Dubuis factory strap, and it includes a Roger Dubuis rose gold pin buckle. Attention to detail is strong. As you can see, the buckle itself is both satinated and polished, so that differential finish is recapitulated on the watch. You can see the lug hoods as well as the bezel are polished. The mid case and the lug profile have a vertical satin finish. Normally, satin finish runs longitudinally. Here it's vertical, which is unusual but quite attractive. We have a Roger Dubuis overlapping RD logo on the crown. That's what you're seeing there. And then we have a lovely and undoubtedly expensive cambered sapphire that traces the arc of the dial. Cambered sapphires on form watches, that is non-round watches, tend to be very expensive to make and difficult to make water resistant, so no expense was spared here. On the reverse side, though the case back does have a round crystal, you can see that it too has a camber to it. The dial is a extravagant, shall we call it tangerine guilloche, and there is a dramatic basket weave pattern that radiates out and expands to a larger and larger motif as it moves away from the hands at center. The hands at center are blued, and you can see the cannon pinion has been mirror polished. We have an extravagant set of Arabic numerals that are two-tone and metallized, so they have a golden metallic tinge to them. And this whole dial has a little bit of a sort of a lacquered gloss to it, which is, I believe, how the color was achieved. It is sort of a golden orange, and it darkens a little bit around some of the apertures, such as the calendar displays and the moon phase. Now, the watch does include a perpetual calendar, and it's an aperture-style perpetual. We have the day, we have the month, we have a leap year phase indicator that'll turn red during the leap year, and then we have a pointer-style date with a moon phase display. The watch is based on a Longines L990. You can see it was a limited series of 28. Oftentimes, Roger Dubuis would launch dial and case variants in short series of 28 or 88. And so while the model itself, the Much More Perpetual Calendar, was built in larger quantities, each subvariant, a combination of case and dial design, tended to be much smaller, which is why these 28-piece series are common, but no given 28-piece version is common. On the reverse side, again, that Longines L990, also doing business as the Breguet 8810 and 8815. Originally designed back in 1978, it was a Longines ultra-thin twin-barrel automatic winder that has been used used on a lot of high horology watches from Breguet to Vianney Halter to Roger Dubuis and more. It is a thin unidirectional winder that has those two barrels, so you don't get a big drop off in amplitude after 24 hours the way you do with a single barrel movement. It's a 44-hour power reserve. It is a 4 hertz beat rate, or 8 beats per second. It pivots on 25 joules. It is a perpetual calendar in moon phase, courtesy of the Roger Dubuis complication module, so you don't need to reset the calendar until the year 2100, and the moon phase, once set, doesn't need to be touched for 122 years. The movement has been upgraded with Geneva Hallmark finish, and you can see the Geneva Hallmark on the base plate. It is a sign that this watch has met the standards of a watch built to the highest degree in the city or canton of Geneva. First codified in the 1880s, the stamp can only be obtained if a test watch has met the standards of the Poinçon de Genève. So you see that we have lovely Côte de Genève linear across the rotor and the bridges, engine turning on the base plate. We have a black polished stud holder, a black polished swan's neck fine adjustment mechanism, black polished screws with chamfered slots and chamfered circumference. And I'll do my best to show this, but we have mirrored rounded anglage on the edge of every bridge. This is beautifully finished with satination on the wheels. Turning it over, you can see it also says Bulletin d'Observatoire on the dial. That is a French observatory chronometer attestation, as these watches, once regulated as chronometers, would have been shipped to the French observatory in Besançon, the traditional heartland of French horology. Besançon and Morteau, both of them. The Besançon Observatory would have tested the watch to the standards of the ISO 3159, which is the same as the COSC, but whereas the COSC tests a bare movement, this would have been a test of the fully assembled watch to achieve that chronometer certification, and then all of this is water resistant down to 30 meters. A rare and extravagant watch from a transitional period in the history of an important pioneering independent watch brand. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.